Hey folks, Mr. Carter here, ready to do HomeLink 5.5. Please put your name on this if you haven't yet already, and let's begin. So today we're adding tenths and hundredths, and what we're going to need to do is use equivalent fractions to add, because we're going to need to convert our tenths to hundredths so that we all have the same denominator. So we'll go through that together. So first one is 2 tenths plus 15 hundredths. So we need to take those tenths, and they're asking us to write the equation in words. So we know that 2 tenths is the same as saying 20 hundredths. So we're going to go 20 hundredths plus 15 hundredths. And don't forget that THS, that's important at the end. So it's 20 hundredths plus 15 hundredths is 35 hundredths. All right. So here for number 2, again, we have hundredths and tenths. So we're going to need to take those tenths and turn them into hundredths. And the way we do that, again, is just multiply the top and the bottom by 10. And that will give us, so I'll do it over here. So we'll do 68 hundredths. We don't need to do anything to that because it's already hundredths. And we're going to add it to 30 hundredths. Okay, so when we add 68 and 30, because all we have to do when we have the fractions with common denominators, we just got to add them, the tops, the numerators. So we're going to go 68 plus 30 for a total of 98 hundredths. And this one is just a plain old equation. You didn't have to write it into words like the first one. Okay, so let's look at number 3. So what we need to do here is, again, take those tenths, turn them into hundredths. So that's going to be 10 hundredths plus 50 hundredths. We don't need to do anything to that because it's already hundredths. So 10 plus 50 is 60 hundredths. Okay. You could have also reduced this one, so another way, and make it tenths, because that would have worked for this one. So you could go 1/10, so I'll put a little or here, so you could keep the 1/10 the same, and then you could reduce the 50 over 100 just by canceling out the 0 on the top and the bottom, and you're left with 5 tenths. So you could go 5 tenths plus 1/10 is 6 tenths. So either one would have been acceptable. You're able to do that with this particular one. Okay, so for this one, we're going to go and convert all of these again to hundredths. We have 2 that are already hundredths, so we don't need to do anything for that. So I want you to go ahead and try number 4 on your own. So you're going to need to convert 4 tenths and 3 tenths to hundredths. So go ahead and see how you do with that one. Okay. Let's do 5 together because 5 is a little bit different. We have mixed numbers that we're adding. So what we have here is a mixed number of 1 and 3 tenths. So again, when we add mixed numbers, we can break apart our wholes and our fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and break apart our wholes. So we got 1 plus 5. So I just took the 1 and broke it apart from that one, and the 5 and broke it apart from that. So we have our wholes together. So now we have to add our fractions, which is 3 tenths and 64 hundredths. So again, we've got to take that 3 tenths and convert it to hundredths. So we're going to say 30 over 100. And we're also going to need to add the 64 over 100. So when you add your wholes together, you got 5 plus 1 is 6. And when you add your fractions together, you get 94 over 100. Because again, 30 plus 64 is 94. So our answer here is 6 and 94 hundredths. So go ahead and do 6. 6 is the same kind of concept. You got mixed numbers here, so you're going to break apart your wholes and your fractions, add those up. And then again, you're going to have to convert that 8 tenths into hundredths. Excuse me. And then add your fractions there. All right, and 7 I think you can do on your own too. Again, we got 15 tenths, 78 hundredths. So I want you to go ahead and change that 15 tenths into, and convert that into hundredths. let's look at the problem down here. Nicholas shaded 40 hundredths of his hundreds grid. Victor shaded 5/10 of his 100 grid. Who shaded more? Well, we're going to have to compare them again. We need to have the same denominator. So we're going to take this and we can convert our 5/10 into hundredths. So again, then we're going to say it's 50 over 100. So now that we have the same denominator, we can easily compare them. So we have Nicholas shaded 40 hundredths, Victor shaded 50 hundredths. So that would be Victor who shaded more. And how much should they shade in all? Well, again, you go 50 hundredths plus I'll take Nicholas's hundredths over here, 40 hundredths. When you add those together, you get 90 hundredths. You could have also changed those into tenths, and then it would have just been, if you cancel out the 0 on the top and the bottom, which you're able to do, you would have 5/10 plus 4/10, and that would equal 9/10. So it could be 90 hundredths or 9/10. Okay. So let's go down to the practice. I'm going to do 9 and 10 for you, and then you can go ahead and do 11 and 12 on your own. So write 3 equivalent fractions. So again, to make equivalent fractions, all you have to do is multiply the top and the bottom by the same number. Again, remember, whatever you do to the top, you got to do to the bottom, and whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. So if I was to multiply the top and the bottom by 2, I would get 2 fourths. If I was to multiply the top and the bottom over here by 3, I would get 3 sixths. And if I was to multiply it by 4, it would be 4 eighths. You can multiply it by whatever you would like. You could multiply it by 100 or 1,000, and you would get equivalent fractions as long as you're multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number. 1/3. So again, multiply the top and the bottom by the same number. So if I multiply the top and the bottom by 2, I would get 2 over 6, or 2 sixths. If I was to multiply it by 3, I would get 3 over 9. If I was to multiply it by 4, I would get 4 twelfths. And again, go ahead and do the same thing for 11 and 12. See how you do with that. If you have questions, please come see me, and have a good day.